Streets of New Capenna spoiler season is starting off with a bang. Wizards of the Coast has revealed an insane amount of crazy mythic rares.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we are kicking off the Streets of New Capenna spoiler season with an all mythic episode featuring a bunch of key characters from the story of New Capenna. And if you don't know the story, I have a series of 5 videos covering the whole thing over on my Fantasy Geographic channel. I'll leave it linked at the end of this video. Now, let's dive into the spoilers. So we're starting out with Vivian on the Hunt. To me, this is the least powerful mythic that we're going to look at today. 2 green and 4 gets you a 4 loyalty legendary planeswalker that has +2. You may sacrifice a creature. If you do, search your library for a creature card with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrificed creature's mana value, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So if you got rid of a 1 casting cost creature, you get to go get a 2 casting cost creature and put it straight into play. And it doesn't care about the colors of the creature or any particular aspects of the casting cost, just the total of it. Now the next ability is +1, mill 5 cards, then put any number of creature cards milled this way into your hand. So the ability does feel somewhat black aligned, but this is a solid, strong ability, right? You can get up to 5 creature cards into your hand at the same time, increasing Vivian's loyalty by 1. You also could whiff and feed 5 cards into your graveyard and get nothing, right? So there is a bit of swinginess with this. And when you take into account the fact that the -1 ultimate ability is making a 4/4 Rhino Warrior creature token, this Planeswalker feels kind of swingy and weird, right? 6 mana is a lot to pay. The fact that you can move up the chain with your creatures is pretty sweet, but at the same time, the loyalty boosting is really only ever going to net you 4/4 Rhino token, so that part is a little underwhelming. This feels like a card that, because of its casting cost, is probably not going to make too much of an impact, but ultimately is a genuinely fun card and is something that I would muck about with in Standard to see how it works. Next up, we have another Planeswalker, Obnixilis the Adversary, the main villain of the story of New Capenna. 1 red, 1 black, and 1 gets you a 3 loyalty planeswalker with a brand new ability to magic called Casualty. He has Casualty X. So, the way that Casualty works is you can sacrifice a creature when you're casting a spell with Casualty. So in this case, Obnixilis, you can sacrifice a creature with power X. Your choice, right? And the idea is when you use the Casualty ability, you're making a copy of the spell that's being cast. So when you sacrifice a creature to Obnixilis, when you cast him, you are actually getting an additional copy of the spell. So it will put a token copy of Obnixilis onto the battlefield, right? And it is not considered legendary, and its loyalty will be set to the power of the creature that you sacrificed, okay? Now, the first ability is +1. Each opponent loses 2 life unless they discard a card. If you control a demon or devil, you gain 2 life. -2, create a 1/1 red devil creature token with, when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. And -7, target player draws 7 cards and loses 7 life. Now on the surface, this makes sense for a red-black demon-aligned planeswalker, right? Obviously opponents losing life and discarding cards, and then you being able to gain from having a demon or devil. That feels right from a flavor perspective from that angle, and the -2 to create a red devil works great with the first ability, obviously feeding into the, it sets you up to gain the life, right? Now, one little quibble I do have is it doesn't really fit into the flavor overall of the world of Capenna, Capenna because Obnixilis doesn't ever actually summon up any devils or demons. What he actually does is take control of other organizations, individuals, and use them for his own purposes, right? So from the flavor in the story, that part to me is a little weak, as he's the adversary who literally never summons up any of these devils, right? And the -7 ability is great. Target player drawing 7 cards and losing 7 life feels like a demonic pact. I will give you power, but at the cost of your life force. And you've got Obnixilis standing here looking pretty intimidating overall and fitting into the world of Capenna just fine with them pinstriped pants. What a classy boy he is. Moving on, now we're going to talk about the leader of the brokers. This is Falco Spara Pact Weaver. 1 blue, 1 white, 1 green, and 1 gets you a 3/3 legendary bird demon. He's got flying and trample. He enters the battlefield with a shield counter on it. Shield is a new ability to Magic the Gathering that is almost reminiscent of the old regeneration ability. Here's how shield works. A creature that has a shield counter on it will remove the shield counter when it either takes damage or would be destroyed. So the next time the creature's going to take damage, the damage doesn't happen and the shield counter comes off of it. Or the next time the creature would be destroyed, let's say from like a wrath effect or something like that, the creature isn't destroyed and you remove the shield token. It's important to note that the shield token gets removed on the creature being dealt damage, regardless of whether that's enough damage to destroy the creature. So if Falco has a shield counter on him and you do 1 damage to him, or you do 10 damage, you have the same result where you remove the shield counter, all right? So, that's not his only ability, obviously. You may look at the top card of your library at any time while he's out, and you may cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control in addition to paying their other costs. I really like this as an alternate concept in terms of being able to cast stuff off the top of your deck. We have seen a range of cards that allow you to play off the top of your deck. But this additional cost of removing a counter can both be a hindrance and a benefit, right? Obviously, you can use it to eat your shield tokens and other things like that, right? To cast extra spells. But if you have cards that have negative tokens, or negative counters, I should say, that have been placed on them by your opponent or even by you, you can now remove them, turning this cost into a benefit. So this is very much a build around me commander. And this is Falco, leader of the brokers, who essentially is trying to form contracts with everybody in New Capenna because he's preparing for the doomsday that is going to befall the city. And there's actually an interesting aspect where he doesn't have his own proper conscience, so he needs to cultivate a member of his own crew to become his conscience to make sure that in trying to save the world, he doesn't lose himself and damn the world, which is really, really flavorful and covered over in the stories on Fantasy Geographic talking about this stuff. Falco looks great out on his balcony. This actually features in the story as well. And I love the regular falcons that are kind of flying around him in the background. Great flavor. Next card we're going to talk about is another leader of a different faction. This one is the Riveteers. It's Ziatora, the Incinerator. The card that literally made me go, "What?" out loud when I read it. 1 green, 1 red, 1 black, and 3 for a 6/6 flying demon dragon. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, Ziatora the Incinerator deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target, and you create 3 treasure tokens. You can just keep feeding creatures into this thing every turn, doing the damage directly to any target and gaining treasure. Like, that is bonkers and nuts. Unfortunately, the Riveteers don't really feature as strongly in the story, so there's really not that much to know about Ziatora. I would like to know more, but unfortunately, we're going to have to wait until a future story, I guess, to find that out. Either way, super powerful card. Happily going to slap this big fat daddy into my cube. Now, moving on, we have a Phyrexian beauty. Urabrask, the Heretic Praetor. 2 red and 3 for a 4/4 legendary Phyrexian Praetor with haste. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. So it's pretty much the closest thing that red gets to just additional card draw every turn. But that's not everything you get. You also get, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, the next time they draw a card this turn, instead they exile the top card of their library. They may play it this turn. So it's both essentially doubling the resources that you get each turn while removing your opponent's choices overall. They'll still get to draw a card each turn, but if they don't use it that turn, they lose it. It's exiled. It's a very use it or lose it style hasty setup. I like that. Urabrask features in the story in an interesting fashion. He is actually transported to New Capenna through Tezzeret's internal planar bridge. That process actually strips all of the flesh off of Urabrask's body, but he has a very important mission that he's heading to Capenna for, right? And he's working with multiple different Planeswalkers. If you want to know more, I guess you're going to have to check out the story on Fantasy Geographic. That's right, I'm teasing you, and you do want to know. Trust me. All right, so Urabrask looking pretty solid here in the artwork, coming at you. Now, next up, we have the Halo Fountain. 1 white and 2 for an artifact with 3 abilities. Pay 1 white and tap it. Untap a tapped creature you control to create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. I mean, if they didn't have the whole untap a tapped creature, this would be way too strong. Just 1 mana, make a 1/1 every turn. I mean, getting the tapped creature isn't going to be too difficult because you can just swing in with it, right? Swing in with it, or if you have an activated ability. The Halo Fountain goes amazingly with creatures with activated abilities, where it's like, activate the ability, pay 1, untap it, make a token, activate the ability. Yeah, that's good times. Second ability, 2 white, untap 2 tapped creatures you control, draw a card. So swing in with 2 little donks, untap them both, draw a card, they're ready on the defense, you've got more to go with. It's absolutely nutty. And then 5 white mana, untap 15 tapped creatures you control. You win the game! Although it's kind of funny, because to untap 15 tapped creatures, most likely you've got to swing with 15 creatures. And if you're swinging with 15 creatures and not winning, something's going nutty, right? I really dig the concept of this. Halo is the magical essence that powers all of the world of New Capenna, right? And it is a dwindling resource, or at least it was. In the story of New Capenna, there's actually a new source of Halo. And the reason Halo is so desirable is because it can do so many different things. It can heal grievous injuries. It can boost your magical power. It can literally just end up making you feel euphoric, right? There is a ton that can be done with it. And the way that we discover what Halo actually is and how it's produced is absolutely amazing. I really enjoy the story for Streets of New Capenna. And the story features Elspeth, shown on this card right here, Elspeth Resplendent, as she is working through part of her past and moving into a new and interesting future. She is actually going to be central to fighting the Phyrexians. So Elspeth Resplendent is 2 white and 3 for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. +1, choose up to 1 target creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and a counter that is either flying, first strike, lifelink, or vigilance. -3, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a permanent card with mana value 3 or less among them onto the battlefield with a shield counter on it. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And -7, create 5 3/3 white angel tokens with flying. So this feels in a lot of ways like Elspeth. Elspeth boosting up creatures, we've definitely seen that before. Elspeth generating multiple token creatures, definitely seen that before. Putting a creature into play off the top of the deck, that's new, right? But the shield concept and Elspeth wanting to protect them, that makes perfect sense and also ties into the story because there's someone in the story that it is incredibly important for Elspeth to like guide and protect. I really enjoy the flavor overall of this card, and I love that it makes angel tokens because it ties in to the underlying nature of Elspeth that we never No. And you find that out in the story too. I'll talk about it more in depth later. I don't want to give too many spoilers about it. But either way, Elspeth is really important in the story. We get some huge revelations, and she will be central to destroying the Phyrexians. Now, that's the Mythic Roundup. Later today, I'm going to be going through every spoiler that came out today, and there's a ton more than this, over on my Hatcher channel. Things are a little more rough and tumble there, so you're going to want to watch out for the language that we use while we're hanging, but we're going to be streaming over there, going through all of this stuff. So if you want more spoiler action, come on over. I'll leave a link down in the comments section. Either the stream's happening while you're watching this video, or it's coming up later today. I'll leave it up for you to watch afterwards, so don't miss it. Big thank you to my patrons, and I will see you guys over on my other channel.